Hello and welcome, fellow art enthusiasts, to Artweb Africa, a new podcast that shines light into the vibrant tapestry of Zimbabwean contemporary art. I'm Richard Mudariki, your guide through Zimbabwe's visual arts, and today we have the honor of having Moffat Takadiwa as our guest, a titan in the Zimbabwean contemporary art scene whose work transcends boundaries and challenges perspectives. In today's podcast, we chat to Moffat about his work and his journey toward leading towards his participation in the Zimbabwean Pavilion and the 2024 Venice Biennale. From the streets of Harare to galleries around the world, Moffat works captivates, challenges, and inspires. Through his innovative use of found objects and materials, he breathes new life into discarded fragments, transforming them into profound artistic reflections of society in Zimbabwe. Moffat joins us in this insightful conversation and intimate exploration where we uncover stories behind his creations and the visions that drive him and the dreams that fuel his artistic journey. Moffat, congratulations on your participation in the Zimbabwean Pavilion at the 60th edition of the Venice Biennale. This follows your stellar first solo show in Zimbabwe titled Vestiges of Colonialism at the National Gallery of Zimbabwe in March 2023. Can you tell us about your artistic background and journey leading up to your participation at the Zimbabwean Pavilion and the Venice Biennale?
Thank you very much, Richard, for inviting me to speak with you on this platform and share my journey with you and your audience. I would say I grew up in Harare in Tengwe, a very small community surrounded by farms. And I've always, wanted to be an artist, of course, blindly without really knowing what it means and what it takes for one to be an artist. So fast forward, I end up finding myself at Harare Polytechnic College where I studied fine art. And finishing my studies, I then ventured maybe head on in the field of art. I founded a commercial space in Zimbabwe, which is still running in Harare. And through that space, I had to learn a lot of things concerning how the art industry works. So I would say also through that platform, I learned a lot of things which helped my practice. And I stepped away from that very institution maybe after 3 years of just working with them. And I started to slowly working on my practice. I've shown in Zimbabwe and around the world in some very esteemed places also, which lead to my show, which you have mentioned, Vestiges of Colonialism, which I did last year at the gallery, National Gallery of Zimbabwe. And after that show, I was selected to be amongst a group of 6 which representing Zimbabwe at the Venice Biennale.
Yeah, congratulations. I think that show was indeed a stellar show. I think it had one of the largest visitorship the National Gallery has ever had since its inception. Moffat, what year, do you still remember what year were you at the Polytechnic? And was it the time where Sekuru Chico was still lecturing there and Nkoma Shiridzinongwa?
Yes. I was amongst the last group with Sekuru Chico. I was at the Poly between 2006 and 2008. Yes.
Fantastic. I also recall also showcasing some of my work myself and admire Mzengerere at First Floor Gallery when it first started, when you're still around. It should be sometime in around 2006 or 2005. Do you still remember what time did you establish First Floor Gallery in Harare?
Much later. First Floor Gallery was around 2009, 2010.
Yes.
Yeah.
Should be around that time, yes. So Moffat, your work, back to your work often incorporates found objects and materials. So what inspires you to work with these materials, and how do you think they contribute to the theme and the messages that you want to portray in your work?
Firstly, I think when we were still studying at Harare Poly, the challenges with materials, around 2006, 2007, Zimbabwe was still passing through a very difficult time, and we couldn't either afford or find traditional art materials. So in a way, a lot of artists, not just myself, were forced to look for alternative material, something else to use to communicate. So I maybe went a bit too far and ended up stuck in these materials, though I found a vocabulary and a voice through everyday trash.
Fantastic. So how does that the trash, as you say, contribute to the themes and messages of your work? Because I know there's a lot of repurposing and a lot of ideas in your previous conversation of taking back the trash back to the West, where there's a lot of environmental degradation because of pollution.
Looking at what we use every day, it's easy to also trace and reflect our everyday also lifestyles. So that's my how I use these materials is I trace and I reflect on our everyday lives. So sometimes I find what I call colonial hangover in these objects which we use every day. And my work deals so much with post-colonial discourse. And this material, I think, are quite a good material, to build a stronger vocabulary for me.
Indeed. Moffat, the theme for the Zimbabwean Pavilion this year is Undone. How does the work that you have shown at the pavilion engage with or respond to this theme?
Undone is quite a beautiful theme, I think, for mostly post-colonial discourse, because after independence, for people like myself, born after independence, we are called the post-colonial generation.
That's indeed, yeah.
Yes, you'd see that there are a lot of things which we think should have by now changed. I know, of course, we've passed the honeymoon period, but a lot of these things you'd find African governments are still struggling with a lot of issues. So one of the things which young people would think is a repatriation as a way of a remedy in post-colonial independent states. Then we might think of maybe redistribution. I know Zimbabwe is one of the few states which have redistributed land as a resource, and land is a very important resource in Africa.
Definitely.
Then you might talk of rewriting also our own history and using our own narrative, or rather a correct narrative, and speak for ourselves as African people. So with my current board of work, which I'm showing under the theme Undone, I had to think of materials which will speak to this theme, like, for example, buttons and zippers. A zip is an item to do and to undo, the same with buttons.
Indeed.
And I think I communicate a lot of issues on how we can undo certain things and how we need to actually do certain also things at the same time. Before I go, I think this explains some of the material which I've used.
Fantastic. Talking about materials, I actually liked the work Zimbabwean Munduri. Can you walk us through some of the key pieces you have, you are currently showing at the pavilion, and maybe a narrative behind one or two of these works?
With Zimbabwean Mdori, I've used materials like used toothbrushes, toothpaste tubes, computer keys, decommissioned banknotes from Zimbabwe. And these materials are woven together to formulate sort of one wall-hanging piece with another suspended from the ceiling of the pavilion in a almost juxtaposed position for these two pieces. And it's also accompanied by a voice piece with an audio. You would see that these two pieces, looking at them together, you would think of our own pounding mortar. We call it duri in Shishona. This, and thinking of the audio, you'd easily see propaganda elements where things are done over and over and over again. The same with how we do with the pounding mortar, which goes on and on like a machine, pounding and pounding and pounding. And also the piece and the materials, they can actually point to a culture of accumulation, or maybe rather a culture of greediness, which we inherited so much from the colonial administration. They used to grab a lot, and that's one of colonial signature, was to grab. That's how they took the land and so on.
Indeed.
And I think this is quite embedded in us today. You'd see a lot of our rich people, young rich people in Zimbabwe, they have a lot of this culture of accumulation. They buy sometimes unnecessary vehicles in a country where the roads are so bad. So I certainly also approach issues like this in my work.
Yeah, indeed. No, the issue of repetitive propaganda is something that many are very well off who have lived in Zimbabwe. And currently looking through social media, and you would actually see a lot of consumerism in a country where we have 95% or something like that of unemployment, but still people are buying consumer goods that are quite beyond people in a country that is a third world. So Moffat, sorry, if you want to expand?
Yes. If you would allow me, maybe to explain one more work, which is quite a beautiful work in this series of works. I've done a work which I gave the theme land redistribution, and this is made of almost a ton of buttons, which I collected from a closed clothing factory.
Is this in
Sorry.
Is this in Harare?
Yes, a factory in Harare which closed down, and they had to disperse some of their, buttons and whatever materials which they really wanted to use, and I collected these materials and used them in this work. You would see that the issue of land redistribution itself, it's quite a very controversial issue, and I decided to approach it a bit differently in this work. When we talk of redistribution, it sometimes goes either way. The same with the repatriation. It's not only us who need to repatriate what was taken by the Westerners, but also the Westerners, in a certain point, we need to push them to come and take back certain things which they've introduced to the continent, or we need to let go a lot of things which we have received through colonialism or through modernity, so to speak. In this work, I have put about a ton of buttons on the floor of the pavilion, and some are arranged in a way that you can see the Zimbabwe bed traced with the buttons. And I'm inviting the audience in Venice, mostly Westerners, of course, to collect some of these buttons, I provide an envelope and they can put in an envelope and take home with them. It's almost an action of me redistributing my piece of land, but it's also an action of me saying, you should take back your trash, or else I'm redistributing this trash in a way.
Amazing, fantastic concept. I think that's very powerful. That was actually leading to my next question that I was going to ask what messages or impressions you were hoping to convey to visitors to the pavilion, and that exactly is indeed a fantastic way of passing that message. My next question is that so the Venice Biennale sort of attracts a diverse and international audience. How do you anticipate that viewers from different backgrounds and cultures are going to engage and interpret with your work?
That's a very beautiful question. You would see that coming from Africa, from Zimbabwe, we are a bit far from the center, or say from the art capitals. And sometimes we work in very unconventional mediums and methods. So for me, I strike the balance by also making my work very subtly in a way which can invite any audience to really get closer to the work. Then some of these very tough and very serious messages, you can get them later after you first engage with the work. After first the work draws the audience towards it. So the message is not right in your face, but it's something which you pick after you properly engage with the work. Also, I have other works within the pavilion which are approaching also these subjects more subtly, like one of the work in which I portray almost a slave ship, or rather a cargo ship. I've used only zippers and buttons in this work. It's a wall-hanging piece, and I've woven these materials into an almost ship profile, which I hanged on the wall. And for me, when we speak of a ship, its relation to Africa anyway is very problematic. You know, we have human cargo, we have a lot of African resources which have crossed the ocean. And now we have also in return second-hand items being dumped into the ocean, including also trash, which is being dumped on the ocean shores. And so I still question a lot of things through this vessel and using this work. So when you look at it, it's a very subtle, beautiful, nice work. So that audience will love it, will come closer to it, but also these subjects are quite visible and will make us all think in a way.
Indeed, yeah. I agree with you 100% that the artwork should, first of all, be aesthetically pleasing, something that draws someone's attention. And then when you capture that attention, then you reveal the messages and the themes in a more subtle way, as you were saying. And obviously, you know, many viewers have different interpretations for work. And I think that's beautiful for people to always come and stand in front of a work and see different interpretations. And it's quite grounded. So, Moffat, so the next question, yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So the next question is, so this is something also that I've always been asked as an artist, contemporary artist as well, is it how do you believe, how do you see the role of art playing in sparking debate and social change, both in Zimbabwe and on a global scale?
Yeah, I think art has got its own ways of affecting change. Um, some of these subjects which we approach, I think, will make some of the important lawmakers and people who are important in different aspects think carefully about their action and make us all question our everyday actions. I think that's the purpose of art anyway. So it's effort, yeah, its own way of making things change.
Yeah, I've always say it's a visual language. It's we all telling visual stories as an art form that speaks through images or through interpretations of images.
Yes, I agree.
Looking ahead, what are your aspirations and goals as an artist, and how do you envision these contributing to the evolving landscape of Zimbabwean contemporary art?
I now see my way beyond the objects which we sometimes make um, into something, ideas which can manifest in very different forms, like if you know a project which I have in Harare in Bari called Bari Art Space. I think this project carries my thinking in a way that can immediately change societies in the periphery of this project. So, yeah, I think this is where I'm going, that I'll have more impact in people's lives through other things, but which also needs and require my thinking as an artist.
No, indeed. I think Bari Art Space is a beautiful space and a well-needed space, I think, for the community and for the general art community, because it provides studio space and just a space for artists to gather and think and collaborate. So congratulations on that.
Yeah, thank you.
Moffat, thank you so much for your time today. And I know it has been a busy few weeks preparing for the installation and travel to Venice. So thank you so much for your time. And yeah, once again, congratulations on your participation in the Zimbabwean Pavilion.
Thank you very much, Richard. And yeah, let's continue the talk.
Fantastic.